3 spine-chilling true summer vacations exposing sinister horrors you never knew existed. The summer sun surrounded Sarah and her 2 children, Mia and Jake, as they drove into the quiet suburbs of Riverton, a town shrouded in a past that seemed to whisper ominous secrets. She clutched the steering wheel, heart racing, as they entered the long-forgotten street where her late grandmother's house stood tall and eerie, its weathered facade emanating a forgotten charm mixed with an unsettling aura. Suddenly, the cheerful chirping of birds felt off, like they were mocking her as she drove past. The closer they got, the more she felt something was lurking, an unseen presence breathing heavily down her neck. As they unloaded boxes filled with remnants of weekends spent in the sunny comfort of her grandmother's kitchen, a sweet memory wafted through. The scent of freshly baked cookies still lingered in the air, as if her grandmother was just in the next room. But she wasn't. The joy turned sour as Sarah started to unpack, unease creeping in like the damp heat of the summer evening, wrapping around her like a shroud. For Mia and Jake, this should have been a summer of adventure, yet something hung heavy in the atmosphere, a chill fighting against the warmth of the day. The neighbors, once vibrant and engaged, turned cold. Their whispers intensified, eyes darting cautiously toward her children. It felt all wrong. The house creaked at night, shadows flitting by the window made her heart race. And that sound? A soft, distant call, wailing perhaps. At first, she brushed it off as the night playing tricks on her, but that soft cry was more than imagination, it felt like an invitation, or a warning. Tonight, Mia stumbled upon an old trunk hidden in the attic, dust layered thick on its surface. Inside, Sarah's heart thrummed wildly as she sifted through yellowed letters and faded photographs. Each piece unveiled her grandmother's shadowy secret ties to Riverton, a town that thrived on tradition but concealed a horrific truth. What happened to families that came here? Disappeared without a trace, with only stories of a beautiful lake, the epitome of joy, hiding the sinister spirit that lured them to their doom. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The air weighed thicker than ever. The whispers were louder now, almost tangible as she confronted the local police for answers. The mayor's gaze chilled her, no empathy, only palpable fear. What dark secrets did her family unlock? Why wouldn't they look closer at the townsfolk's hushed fears? Shadows danced outside her window, revealing figures not present, and Sarah's dreams shattered with cries of a distressed spirit. Now, a horrible realization settled deep within her gut. She was not just fighting for her children's safety, but against a powerful evil embedded in Riverton's fabric. Night fell, the lake shimmered under the moonlight, alluring yet treacherous. Ghostly whispers echoed her grandmother's name, pulling her deeper into history she'd never known. As she stared into the darkness, a figure emerged from the depths of the lake. Would she let the darkness consume her family, or would she dive into the horror to save them from a fate worse than death? The air was electric, heavy with dread. Sarah squinted into the night, the moonlight reflecting off the lake's surface, flickering like a warning sign. Her heart hammered in her chest. Was that figure a trick of her mind? A piece of her imagination that twisted in response to fear? She couldn't breathe. Just as she was about to turn back, a voice echoed from the water. It trembled and pulled, calling her name. Mama Mia's soft voice broke through her panic. The little girl stood at the edge of the porch, her face pale as a ghost, wide eyes reflecting the moonlight. What are you looking at? Nothing, sweetie, Sarah replied, forcing a smile. But as she turned back towards the lake, all she saw was the undulating water, calm and inviting. The shadow had vanished, yet the chill of its presence clung to her spine. A sudden sound sliced through the atmosphere, a cracking noise like ice shattering. Sarah instinctively grabbed Mia's hand, pulling her closer. Jake appeared in the doorway, his young face scrunched in confusion. "Can we go, Mom? I don't feel good." Her heart sank. The whispers had grown louder, more urgent. "We'll stay close tonight, just until morning," she whispered, feeling their grip on her sanity slip further away. She steered Mia and Jake back inside, locking the door behind them. The old hinges creaked ominously in protest. As they settled in, every shadow felt alive, and the house groaned under the weight of silence. Sarah glanced briefly at the attic door, where the trunk lay, shrouded in darkness. The secrets wrapped in dust and despair tugged at her curiosity, but dread rooted her feet to the floor. "Can we watch a movie?" Jake asked, his voice trembling not just from fear but from something darker that lurked in Riverton. "Sure, honey," she managed, trying to sound casual even as her hands shook. They huddled on the couch, the dim light of the screen flickering like a ghost in the dark. About halfway through, a sudden loud thud echoed through the house. Sarah's heart dropped. "Just the house settling," she assured them, though the knot in her stomach insisted otherwise. Mia barely clung to her mother as the movie flickered in the background, the dialogue drowned out by their collective anxiety. That thump again, louder this time, shuddered through the walls, vibrating in the air. I think I heard something," Mia whispered, eyes wide. The hairs on the back of Sarah's neck stood on end. "Stay put here, please," she instructed, voice barely above a whisper. Steeling herself, Sarah crept to the kitchen, every nerve on high alert. A faint but distinct whisper flitted through the air. It was her name again, but this time it morphed into something that made her skin crawl. "Sarah, come closer," it echoed around the corners of the room, a twisted lullaby woven into the corners of her mind. With trembling hands, she opened the back door, half expecting to be met with nothing. But the air outside felt thick alive. "Stay inside," she shouted, not turning back as she gripped the doorframe to steady herself. A reflection caught her eye, glimmering in the darkness. The lake, the surface rippled, as if responding to an unseen force. "What are you?" she breathed, terror sense prickling at the back of her mind, and then she saw it, emerging slowly, a figure half-surfaced, eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. The moonlight shone directly on it, revealing a familiar face twisted in agony. The truth of her family's legacy was about to reveal itself. "Run!" she screamed, heart racing as she turned back to the house, but when she looked over her shoulder, her children were gone. Panic gripped her chest tighter than ever. The darkness hadn't just lured her away, it had taken them, vanished into the night. She had to find them before they succumbed to the same fate as others before her. The whispers called stronger now as she stepped back into the gloom, and with every step deeper into the night's embrace, she felt the lake pulling her in. What terrible fate awaited, and could she ever escape Riverton? The moment Sarah turned back towards the house, dread settled over her like an unwelcome cloak. She felt the helplessness claw at her throat. "Mia! Jake!" she screamed, her voice cracking. No response, just the hollow echo of her panic reverberating off the walls. Her feet moved faster than her thoughts as she raced back inside, desperate and frantic. The shadows twisted and curled, pulling her gaze to every corner, every space that might hide a threat. The living room was empty, the flickering movie screen forgotten, casting erratic bursts of light against the walls. The quiet loomed heavy, stifling her breath. "Children!" she shouted again, panic clawing at her insides. The suffocating silence felt alive, an entity watching, waiting. She rushed toward the stairs, heart pounding like a war drum. Each step echoed, creaking under her weight, punctuating her fear. "Don't be silly, they might be hiding," she whispered to herself, trying to calm the tornado of emotion raging inside. As she reached the first bedroom, she hesitated, fist raised to knock, but the door swung open with a soft creak. Empty. Her heart sank further. She hitched her breath, battling against the rising tide of despair. The shadow of the attic lay ahead, its door slightly ajar, darkness seeping out like a sickly smoke. Why would they go there? She thought. The attic was steeped in unsettling stories, whispered fears of long-standing family myths, dark whispers her parents had told her. Please, don't go there. The thought flickered like a dying candle, her body moved of its own accord, drawn by a compulsion she couldn't name. Sarah approached the attic door, every instinct screaming to run away. She climbed the stairs slowly, trembling with each step. The air felt thicker, almost alive, pressing against her. At the top, darkness awaited her, a void that felt heavier than the night. Taking a deep breath, she called out, "Mia. Jake. If you're up here, please answer me." The words faltered, echoing into nothingness. She flicked on her phone's flashlight, its beam slicing through the blackness. Dust motes danced like lost souls. As she moved deeper into the attic, she discovered the trunk her parents had left behind, the one they said held the past, trapped memories or terrible secrets. The whispers grew sharper, taunting her. The voice of a child, sweet and sorrowful, curled around her thoughts. "Mama, help us, Mia." She jumped, heart racing. "Help us," the voice echoed again, threading through her mind like barbed wire. "Where are you?" she cried into the suffocating dark. Tears clouded her vision as she stumbled toward the trunk. The lid lay cracked open, revealing a glimpse of darkness inside. She hesitated, the air thick with warning, but desperation eclipsed her fear. With a trembling hand, she lifted the trunk lid. It creaked horrifically, a sound that seemed to resonate through the very foundation of the house. Inside, she found nothing but shadows, and her breath hitched. An icy hand clutched her heart as she leaned closer, peering into the void. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes flashed in the darkness. The whispers turned into desperate pleas, "Let us out. Help us, Mama." But they weren't her children anymore. The faces twisted into masks of agony, mouths opening to scream, but no sound escaped. Falling back, Sarah hit the floor hard, panic unleashing her primal instincts. She had to choose to confront whatever lay in the trunk or to flee the house and the lake forever. The whispers shaped themselves into a chorus, calling for her, each note laced with agony. "Sarah," the voice coiled around her like a serpent. "You are part of this, come, join us." The attic door slammed shut behind her. She was trapped. "Mom!" A muffled voice suddenly broke through from outside. But was it real? Her heart raced again. The childlike plea echoed again and again, mingled with shadows and flickering candles of hope. "Stay away!" she shouted, desperately clawing at the darkness. As the shadows closed in around her, she felt the icy tendrils grab at her ankles, pulling her down into the abyss. Would she succumb to the dark forces lurking in Riverton? Bound by terror and hope, Sarah realized she had to make a choice. But time was running out. The darkness tightened around Sarah like a vice, her breath quickening as dread washed over her. She clawed at the attic floor, pushing against the cold wood that felt alive beneath her. For a brief moment, the desperate cries from outside her prison echoed in her ears. Her children, were they truly out there? "Mom!" The muffled cry pierced her heart, an urgent heartbeat against the creeping terror. "Jake!" she shouted back, hoping against hope that the sound of her voice would somehow breach the veil of shadow, would break through the malevolence that threatened to consume her. Silence returned, thicker than before, wrapped around her like a shroud. The whispers surged, stronger, more insistent. She could feel their breath on her skin, hear their laughter riding the currents of the stale air. Fear ignited within her, a wild spark that drove her to twist and claw her way toward the trunk. The lid still gaped open, the darkness inside yawning wide. A low, terrible growl emanated from within, vibrating through her bones, wrapping around her thoughts like a dark promise. As Sarah reached the edge of the trunk, she hesitated. What was waiting for her if she dared to look inside again? "No!" she screamed, the sound tearing from her throat. "I want to join you." Rising with newfound determination, she dashed to the attic door, throwing her weight against it. The door didn't budge. Whatever force held it closed was far beyond her strength. Panic surged anew, electricity coursing through her veins. She had to get out. Mom! There it was again. Her heart leapt, the child's voice a lifeline woven through the darkness. Help us! The attic trembled, shadows swirling violently around her feet. Her phone flickered, sputtering low on battery, its weak beam wavering in the tumult. She turned it towards the trunk, terrified yet drawn to it. The eyes were back, brighter, watching hungry and yearning. Stop it! You're not my children! She yelled, but even she felt the tremor of doubt in her voice. The shadows were alive, licking, writhing, and something in her heart told her that they knew her fears all too well. The walls seemed to constrict, creeping closer, suffocating her. Help us, Mama! The voices twisted, morphing into a cacophony of joy and pain. Quickly, she returned her attention to the trunk. Taking a deep breath, she reached out again, her fingers trembling as they brushed against the edge of the lid. This time, she wouldn't let the darkness swallow her. She wouldn't let it win. Driven by a surge of defiance, she whipped the trunk open wide, preparing for whatever lay within. What poured out was not what she expected. Memories fluttered to life, images of the happiest times she shared with Mia and Jake dancing in the absence of light. The shadows shrieked, pulled away like sunlight chased by the clouds, but beneath the bright memories, silhouettes shifted, indistinct and foreboding. Tendrils of darkness snaked upward, claw-like fingers grasping desperately at her wrists. She flinched, recoiling. No! This is all a lie. Join us! The cries echoed, braiding through her mind. In the depth of her terror, she felt the lure of the trunk, a promise to reunite her with the children she lost. Just like that, the strong will to escape began to fray. Suddenly, the attic door cracked open, a sliver of light cutting through the overwhelming black. A silhouette stood there, blocking her escape, a figure she recognized all too well. Mama! It whispered sweetly, voice dripping with familiarity. The cold chill creeping down her spine threatened to freeze her in place. Mia? She gasped, but was it really her daughter? The shadows danced, flickering in and out of reality, changing the face she longed to see. Come to me, Mama, join us forever. The truth hung in the balance. Could she trust her eyes, sharp with longing, or would the deceit of shadows drag her down with them? As the figure stepped further into the light, Sarah's heart raced. Darkness still clawed at her ankles, and time was slipping away. Mama? With one final desperate breath, she made her choice. But would it lead her to freedom or bind her forever in the web of shadows? Sarah's heart thundered as she struggled to process the apparition of her daughter. The figure stepped into the faint light, a glimpse of her Mia, but her face was contorted, wavering as if reality itself was terrified to hold it too tight. Mia? She whispered, desperation twisting her voice. Mom! Mia's voice flowed like honey, thick and soothing. But beneath the sweetness lurked something else. Something dark. You don't have to be afraid. We've missed you. The shadows behind her flickered and writhed impatiently, as if lurking in excitement at the possibility of reunion. No. This isn't right. My Mia wouldn't. Sarah's voice broke. Longing gripped her, but fear coiled tighter around her heart. Memories surged, bright snippets of her daughter laughing, running, full of life. Yet here before her stood a distortion, a monster wearing her child's face. The trunk pulsed behind her, a heartbeat of the void. It called to her, promising release, escape from the cracking reality of her cruel situation. Join us. The voices grew louder, more demanding as shadows crawled closer. It's the only way. Please, stop. Sarah turned her back to the trunk, clutching her phone like a weapon. She threw its beam toward the encroaching darkness, desperate to see the truth within the distortions. The light carved through the gloom, illuminating ephemeral shapes, bent figures twisted in eternal torment. Were they the souls of others? The figure stepped back, the flickering shadows playing tricks on her mind. Mom! Help us! Help us please. Sarah narrowed her eyes. Mia? Is that really you? Of course, it is. Come to us, don't you want to be with us again? Don't you want to be happy? The last word pierced her like a dagger. Happy. They had been happy once and the apartment had felt so safe. If only she could believe it. But the memories all felt tainted now, blackened by this sinister invitation. Outside the attic, the night strangled the air. Heavy, suffocating silence settled again. The shadows tightened their grip, daring her to choose between faith and despair. The trunk behind her throbbed. Its growl deepened, reverberating through her soul. It cried out to her, daring her to cross the line she feared. Let the past go, Mom, Mia urged, stepping closer. We can start over, everything can be normal again please. With every word, the shadows drew tighter, tugging at her sanity. Panic spiked in her chest. She couldn't trust. Not after everything. Those eyes, they weren't Mia's, they weren't the loving gaze she remembered. They were the eyes of the shadows, whispering sweet lies, promising everything she had lost. No! Sarah cried, feeling the swell of defiance rise again. She took a step backward and almost stumbled. The edge of the trunk pressed against her legs. I refuse to be a part of this of you. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, a loud clap that rattled her bones. The attic plunged deeper into darkness. Mia! Sarah screamed, terror clawing at her throat. Join us! The whispers slithered through the air, more suffocating now, wrapping around her like a noose. Desperation surged within her, igniting a fire in her veins. She faced the trunk. If this darkness wanted her to join, she would burn it away. I will not give in. She screamed into the void, her voice echoing against the walls that felt closer than ever, but silence loomed, pressing down around her like a heavy fog. The shadows stirred violently, swirling, teasing the edge of something profoundly sinister. Then suffer, Sarah. It was not Mia's voice. Suffer with us forever. As the shadows converged, ready to claim her, the air grew electric with dread. Sarah's world fell away, and she was left with only the choice of the hopeless void before her. The trunk shuddered, releasing a low thunderous growl, almost a warning. The shadows formed into shapes around her, twisting, grappling. She had to act, but was there any escape? The chill of inevitability settled deep within her, and as she contemplated her next move, the trunk exploded open, revealing a different darkness, an even more terrifying fate waiting. Inside, what lurked within that realm, drawing her ever closer? A blinding surge of darkness erupted from the trunk. Sarah staggered back, her heart racing. From the depths, tendrils of shadow slithered up toward her, slippery and insistent, as if eager to wrap around her limbs. She gasped, stumbling against the wall for balance, her fingers trembling uncontrollably. Mom! The voice held a chilling familiarity, echoing from the shadows, but it twisted in a way that set her teeth on edge. Don't go. You belong here. With every passing moment, the air thickened. Fear coiled in her stomach, twisting like a living thing. Shapes flitted at the edges of her vision, grotesque and hungrily watching. They weren't mere shadows, they were the remnants of souls lost, tortured, and waiting. Stop it. The word clawed out of her throat, hoarse with desperation. You aren't my Mia. She's gone, a hollow voice echoed eerily, laced with mockery. Join us, and bring peace to her memory. Sarah's mind raced, trapped in this attic, surrounded by the jeering shadows whispering her worst fears. She thought of Mia's laughter, the love that once filled their home. But now, that love felt tainted, smeared over with darkness that seeped into her thoughts, poisoning every cherished memory. Leave me alone. She shouted, her voice cracking as adrenaline flooded her veins. The shadows pulsed, recoiling slightly, as if her fury momentarily stung them. Why not just give in? Mia's voice cooed. There was no warmth, no innocence now, just a dull aching pull that made Sarah's chest tighten. "You're so tired of running we can be happy. Forever." The darkness shivered with anticipation, stretching towards her like eager hands. Each tendril flicked against her legs, cold and clammy. She fought the instinct to flee but tasted the bitter promise of despair on her tongue. Think. She had to think. Sarah's eyes darted around the attic, searching for anything she could use. The beam from her phone flickered, barely illuminating the horrors gathering in the corners. But then, she spotted the broken lamp lying next to a dust-covered box. She lunged for it. "Mom! No! Your time is over!" The shadows cried, lunging forward with a sudden ferocity. Sarah hurled the lamp into the gaping maw of the trunk. A bright spark shot into the swirling darkness, igniting a momentary burst of light. The shadows screamed as the brightness forced them to recoil. "Get back!" she yelled, her voice stronger now, her fear morphing into determination. "We will find you!" They wailed, voices overlapping like a cacophony of eternally suffering souls. She seized the moment, pulling back the trunk's lid without hesitation. The darkness poured out, a wave determined to swallow her whole. But Sarah would not let it drown her. She pulled out the old family album she had stored there, pages yellowed but full of moments she feared would fade. "Look at us!" she shouted, brandishing it like a shield. "This is love. This is my Mia." The shadows howled, rattling around her, their forms flickering with rage. A burning light spilled from the album, where smiles and laughter shone like beacons. The shadows, once powerful, began to recede, unwilling to face the brightness of truth. But as they fell back, Sarah could feel her strength wavering. The darkness was relentless, gathering strength to retaliate. It crept in closer, like a predator sizing up its prey. In that instant, she understood that the fight was just beginning. "What if you let us help?" The remnants murmured, seductive promises weaving through their whispers. "No!" she screamed, holding the album tightly. "You can't have me." The attic trembled, the walls bulging outward with their malevolence, as Sarah braced herself. She had a choice to make, but time was slipping through her fingers like sand. As the shadows swirled, a figure emerged from the heavy darkness again. It was Mia, but the familiar shape was altered, grotesque, mesmerizing. "Mom, let us show you what happiness really is." Sarah's heart raced harder than ever. She felt the weight of despair bearing down on her, and she realized the shadows were tempting her with something darker than mere death. What awaited her beyond the brink of surrender? Was there a way to fend off this horror, or had she already begun to lose herself to the shadows? Sarah's breath quickened as Mia's distorted figure hovered just beyond the swirling shadows. The resemblance was haunting the hollow cheeks, those once cherubic eyes now sunken and void of life. "I want to help you, Mom," her voice slithered, smooth yet laced with malice. "But you need to let go." "Let go? Let go of you?" Panic gripped Sarah, twisting her gut. She could feel the shadows pressing in, thick and suffocating, a tangible darkness that sought to drown her in despair. "Join us, and we can be a family again," the voices chimed in harmony, desperate and pleading. Twisted faces emerged from the gloom, each wearing expressions of anguish and yearning. They seemed to weave together, forming a tapestry of sorrow that threatened to pull her under. "No!" she shouted, taking a step back, clutching the album to her chest. "You're not my family. You're just a lie." With those words, the shadows recoiled momentarily, bewildered, as if they had never faced such defiance. Sarah sensed the flicker of victory within her, hope ignited from despair, but the moment was fleeting. The shadows danced angrily, swirling like a storm, edging closer with violent intent. "Happiness is just a memory now," the entity that once was Mia whispered. "Let us show you the truth." Her chest tightened with the weight of that statement, the name truth resonating ominously in her mind. Images of her life with Mia darted through her thoughts: birthday parties, bike rides, laughter in the park. They flashed brightly, but the darkness snuffed them out one by one, and the memories twisted into horrific parodies of joy. "Stop!" she yelled, a scream full of fury and pain. "You won't take that from me." The shadows swarmed, tendrils of despair wrapping around her limbs, cold and unyielding, silencing her heart, drowning her will. They pushed against her, invading her mind, feeding on her memories, gnawing at the edges of her reality. Then Sarah had a thought. She didn't have to fight them alone. With a surge of will, she opened the family album wide, casting radiant light into the darkness swirling around her. The laughter, the joy, the beautiful moments glimmered off the pages, and she envisioned their warmth blending with her own heartbeat. "Get away from me!" she shouted, pointing the album like a gun. With a brilliant flash, the shadows shrieked in agony, recoiling momentarily, twisting and contorting. Relief washed over her, but she knew it was only temporary. They were still there, lurking, feeding on her fear, weaving back together, patching the holes left by her force against them. Then she saw it. A flicker behind Mia's hollow eyes, a glimmer of recognition fighting against the shadows. "Mom," the distorted voice faltered, almost lost. "Fight them!" Sarah cried out, reaching deeper into the album, remembering the thousands of moments that bloomed with Mia's laughter and courage. "You can't let them take you. Come back to me." The shadowy form hesitated, wavering as if caught between worlds. Sarah's heart raced with hope, pushing harder to reclaim the daughter she loved so fiercely. "Fight! We can be a family again." Suddenly, the world's light dimmed, the shadows surged, nearly consuming her. Sarah could feel her strength slipping. The walls of the attic began to close in, the very foundation trembling with a deep-seated rage. "Mia! You're stronger than this!" she screamed, voice raw with desperation. But the shadows screamed back, a chilling growl of rejection. "You don't know what she truly is." In that moment, Sarah felt the chilling grasp of reality. As the shadows lunged, she realized that perhaps Mia wasn't really lost, but an unwilling pawn in this game of darkness. "What did you do to her?" Sarah's voice echoed through the terror. And for the first time, the shadows paused disoriented, as if they had been caught off guard, simmering with a menacing silence. A new understanding dawned on her, but its implications chilled her blood. If Mia was not lost to them, could it be that she had willingly succumbed to their lure? Was her daughter a willing participant in the dark? The walls creaked ominously, and Sarah's heart hitched. Just then, a shadowy hand shot forth from the swirling mass, grasping the edge of the album. What would happen when the light went out for good? Would Sarah join Mia, or would she remain trapped between love and darkness? The grip around the album tightened, and Sarah felt the cold caress of the shadowy hand seep into her skin, as if it wanted to draw her in. She fought against it with all her might, trying to pull the album closer, to the sanctuary of memories unfurling like rays of sunlight beneath the heavy veil of darkness. "No! Let go!" she gasped, her breath hitching as panic surged through her veins. Shadows hissed, their voices slithering like serpents. "You can't escape us. You can't protect her. She's already ours." The air grew thick and oppressive. Sarah's heart raced, pounding like a drum in her chest, each beat echoing with a growing terror. The shadowy figures around her began to chant, their voices melding into a haunting melody that wrapped around her like a noose, pulling her deeper and deeper into despair. "Mia, please!" Sarah pleaded, her voice trembling as she caught a glimpse of the twisted form still hovering before her. The flicker in those hollow eyes of Mia was gone. In its place flickered a dark void, an emptiness that resonated with a sinister understanding. A cacophony of lost sounds flooded her mind, the joy of family dinners, Halloween costumes, and late-night talks under the stars, all stripped of warmth, replaced by echoes of mockery. Vivid memories morphed into grotesque caricatures, replaying in frenzy as the shadows fed off her anguish. "Mom, you have to let go and embrace the darkness," the chorus teased. They stirred restlessly, their forms shifting, molded by her troubled thoughts. Then it hit her: Mia had never come back home, had she? The realization struck hard, like a punch to the gut. What if that girl she remembered was nothing more than a facade? Was Mia the one who welcomed the darkness? Her daughter's laughter rang out in her head, but now it felt cold, a weapon turned against her. Then she caught a glimpse of something in her peripheral vision. Amidst the swirling miasma was a faint glimmer, illuminated by her defiance. The album, still clutched in her hands, seemed to pulse with life, shining bright against the encroaching night. "Remember us!" Sarah shouted, channeling every ounce of love, every fragment of light she had. She opened the album wide, pages fanning out like wings, sending an incandescent light piercing through the encroaching shadows. For a moment it was as if the shadows screamed, recoiling from the memories like vampires from sunlight. The twisted forms began to dissipate. But at what cost? In that moment of brightness, she felt it: the weight of a bargain hanging in the air. Could she truly free Mia, or would that same brightness unravel the very fabric of their bond? "Mom, don't!" A voice cried out, warped but still her daughter's. "You don't know what you're unleashing. Is that really you, Mia?" Sarah questioned, desperation edged with rage. She fought to keep the light alive, yet with each moment, the flicker of her daughter's name twisted into something dark, a throaty whisper now saying, "We can't turn back." The shadows writhed, returning with newfound ferocity. They lashed out, and Sarah staggered, reality blurring at the edges. The album flared, but shadows clawed desperately to veil it again. "Join us in fullness," they beckoned, shadows blending with memories, forming a groan of familiarity that seeped deep into Sarah's mind. "The truth is not what you remember, it is what you desire." A chill ran down her spine. What desire? The longing to hold her daughter? To be a family? Could it even handle the truth of Mia's surrender? As guilt and temptation warred within her, a final wave of darkness crashed against the light. In desperation, Sarah clung to the album, teetering on the precipice of an impossible choice, but the shadows pulsed, their weight heavy and overwhelming, drawing her toward a new abyss. Would she plunge headfirst to save Mia or be further consumed by the unknown? The last of the light flickered in her grasp as the shadows hissed in a hungry frenzy. Beneath the din, a new thought settled in her gut: what if to free Mia, she would have to sacrifice herself? The shadows lunged. The album trembled. The light flickered, and the darkness whispered, "Do it or lose her forever." The fight was far from over, and Sarah felt her grip loosening. The shadows erupted like a storm, overwhelming Sarah with a howling wind of despair. Every ounce of her being screamed for light, for warmth, yet the darkness wanted to swallow her whole. The album, the last vestige of hope, pulsed with a desperate rhythm, each heartbeat in sync with her mounting fear. "Sarah!" The shadows hissed, their voices entwined with the memories of laughter, whispers, and a daughter who had once been full of life. "Join us. Embrace what you fear most." In that moment, Sarah's heart froze. She could almost hear Mia's laughter, a haunting echo that darted like a knife through her mind, a painful reminder that her daughter was lost, perhaps forever. Was it too late to reclaim her? The flickering light from the album whispered promises, but what was the cost? "No, no," Sarah fought back, her resolve tightening around her like a shield. "I won't give in." But those twisted figures surged forward, their forms writhing, shifting, and stretching toward her. A crowd of anguished faces surrounded her, each one a reflection of Sarah's deepest insecurities and fears. They bore the visage of loss, betrayal, and darkness, all manifested, waiting to drag her into the abyss. "Yes!" they chorused, their voices rising like a funeral dirge. "You will be free. Join us, and the pain will cease." The light flickered again, but it felt weaker, dimming under the weight of despair. Instinctively, Sarah pressed the album against her chest, as if it were a lifeline. She fought against their pull, but her feet felt rooted to the ground, anchors in a sea of darkness. With a final weary scream, she shouted for Mia, "I will save you, I will find a way." And suddenly, from the depths of the chaos, a flicker emerged. A radiant, blinding flash erupted from the album, illuminating the darkness with a searing brightness. It burst forth like shattered glass, scattering shadows in a chaotic frenzy. "No!" The shadows shrieked, their forms beginning to dissolve in the light, like moths confronting an open flame. They clawed desperately at the brightness, seeking a refuge that was slipping away, leaving only hollow echoes and anguished cries behind. Through the tumult, Sarah glimpsed Mia's face, bruised but unmistakably her child, despair mixed with flickers of hope. "Mom!" she pleaded, an urgency palpable in her voice. "Please, don't let them take you. We have to fight together." The album seemed to react to Mia's words, the colors swirling aggressively, each page revealing memories both treasured and terrible. Images of their past surged forth: birthdays, awkward family photos, moments of joy and pain. Sarah felt the warmth of those cherished times wrap around her like an embrace, shielding her from the ceaseless void. But the shadows were relentless, their shrieking now morphing into raspy whispers. "You are tied to us, Sarah. To save her, you must join us. Embrace the suffering. Embrace what we offer." "No!" she screamed again, a primal defiance rising within her. "You are not my family. You are not my daughter." In a surge of adrenaline, Sarah began to flip through the album, desperate to find the right moment, a space in time that could free both her and Mia. Pages struggled against the onslaught, shadows lunging at her, threatening to drag her down. Then, she found it a memory of Mia's last truly happy moment. A golden afternoon where laughter echoed, a sunlit day that pulsed with the essence of love. Sarah grasped that moment and shouted, "This is what you are. This is who we were." Light flooded the darkness again, pushing against the shadows with furious intensity. The chorus of whispers morphed into chilling screams, terrified of the fundamental joy that could unravel their grasp. "Sarah!" The voice of Mia pierced through the chaos, filled with both love and urgency. "You're almost there. But you must make a choice." The shadows shrieked, wrapping tighter around her, invoking a primal fear. "Choose to join us, or lose her forever." A wave of dread washed over her, a brick of terror settling in her belly. What was the cost of this choice? In that moment of soul-crushing clarity, Sarah understood. To truly save Mia, she might have to confront the dark corners of her own heart. But would fighting take her further into the abyss or bring her back to the light? The shadows swarmed, desperate, howling louder as she fought. Desperation clawed at her throat, an uncertain path stretching ahead. "Mom!" Mia cried, pulling away. "You'll know your truth when it matters most." With the forces of darkness closing in, Sarah felt her spirit surge. She wanted to scream, laugh, cry in that moment. She had a choice to make. But would she be brave enough to embrace the unknown? As the last flicker of light dimmed, Sarah closed her eyes tightly, breathless with fear. Would she plunge into the shadows to protect Mia? That question hung like a noose in the thickening air. The air felt electric as Sarah stood at the precipice of despair and hope, the shadows clawing at her, urging her to give in. She clutched the family album tightly, feeling its warmth against her chest. Each moment within the pages pulsed like a heartbeat, whispering sweetly of memories that once felt eternal. "Mom!" Mia's voice pierced through, and that flicker of recognition ignited Sarah's resolve. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for her children. With a fierce determination, she turned to the trunk, that cursed object waiting with its mouth open, ready to swallow her whole. She would not let it win. "I choose love," she shouted, her voice resonating through the attic. The shadows paused, their movements faltering at her declaration. She opened the album wide, letting the vibrant memories flow out like a river, bright and warm, washing over the icy tendrils that sought to claim her. The laughter of her children echoed, rising higher than the agonized howls of the shadows. Light erupted, radiating warmth through the chilling darkness. The shadows recoiled, their gleeful taunts now edged with panic. "Mama!" Mia's voice strained with urgency as the light engulfed the room. "Don't let them take your heart. You have to believe." Suddenly, the trunk shook violently, shadows spilling out like water from a broken dam. Sarah felt her heart quickening, matching the frantic rhythm of the chaos around her. The howl of despair roared louder. She felt Mia's presence amid the chaos, guiding her forward. "Stay close, my love," Sarah whispered, determination igniting within her. She stepped forward into the light, unafraid. The darkness scrambled back, swirling against the encroaching glow. "You don't own me!" she screamed, her voice a powerful weapon against the shadows. As the shadows writhed, images of Mia surged to the forefront of her thoughts. Small hands, bright smiles, and innocent joys filled her mind. "We're bound by love, not fear," she affirmed, the truth drenching her with newfound strength. "Fight for us. Don't you see?" Mia's voice mingled with her mother's growing courage, sharper against the gnashing jaws of despair. "Believe in us." At that moment, clarity washed over Sarah, a vision of all they could be, free from the clutches of darkness. How could she let the past define them? With each heartbeat, her love expanded, pushing the shadows back further until they shrank into the corners like frightened creatures. Then, she made a choice. Sarah summoned every ounce of strength and sent the light cascading louder, brighter, an explosion of sonorous energy reaching out to the shadows that had tormented her. "You have no hold on my family. You can't take them from me," the shadows shrieked. The intensity of her love forced them to twist and contort in agony. Mia's form flickered, unsure for a moment, but the clarity in Sarah's heart shined brightly in the darkness between them. In a final, defiant act, Sarah threw herself into the light, embracing her fear and taking a breath like she was plunging into the deepest waters of the lake. The shadows roared in rage, but it felt like they were evaporating under the burning sun. "Mama!" Mia's voice, clearer and more focused now, rang through the disarray. "I'm here. I'm with you," Sarah yelled, reaching out for the flickering light of her daughter. The beams from the album glowed ever brighter, redefining every moment they had cherished together, transforming sorrow into strength. With a flash and a rush of wind, the attic exploded with light, the shadows scattering like leaves in a tempest. Sarah felt weightless, her heart filled with almost unbearable warmth. No longer were they two against the world, they were a family once more. As the glaring light settled, Sarah found herself on the floor of the attic, Mia and Jake safe beside her, bewildered yet whole. The trunk was gone, turned to dust, and the atmosphere felt lighter. The weight of the shadows lifted as dawn painted the horizon with warmth, signaling new beginnings. Sarah breathed deeply, hugging her children close, relief washing over her like summer rain. The fear that had tightened her chest for so long melted away, replaced by fierce protectiveness and love. Riverton would remain a story of darkness, but now they carried their light, a beacon against whatever awaited. As they stepped outside, sunlight spilling across their faces, the lake shimmered serenely, a stark contrast to its treacherous past. Together, they turned away from the echoes of anguish behind them, walking forward into the horizon, a family renewed, woven together by love's eternal light. Before the screen dims, don't miss your chance to join us on this journey. You need to subscribe now for more heart-pounding stories. Smash that like button to help us spread the word. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who must see this conclusion. Your support means everything.